Hello and welcome to this energy talk here in the Angelati studio at European Utility Week. And in this session we're talking about flexibility at the core. And it is one of those topics that's become very hot. We've always had flexibility within the electric system, but we're talking about flexibility at the distribution end of the electric system. So before we start, I'm going to get our panelists to introduce themselves so you know who they are and who you're hearing from, and then we'll go into this discussion. So, gents, first of all, welcome. And I'll let you introduce yourselves as we go around this panel, and then we'll go into our discussion. But
Thank you, Adam. My name is Luis Cunha. I work for EDP Distribution. I'm advisor to the CEO of the company. I work mostly with energy policies, digitalization of the grid, and all new issues that are coming into the distribution grids.
Hello, I am Guillaume Lehec. I am working within ENGIE. I am head of aggregation in charge of microgrid solution development.
Hello, my name is Guillaume Virmaux. I work for GRDF and I'm the head of European affairs.
Hello, my name is Thomas Drizard. I work at Enedis, a French distribution system operator, and I'm the project manager for Nice Smart Valley project.
So, Thomas, I'm going to start with you because you put me up to this. You said, this is a hot topic, and it's one of the things that you mentioned. Nice Smart Valley is, you're really looking at flexibility and how you can put that in. Can you, just to kick us off, give us a little bit of context about what you're doing at Nice Smart Valley, some of the things you're investigating, and then I'll bring your colleagues in and we can bring that to life a little bit and then hear from Luis on a bigger level as well.
Yes, so Nice Smart Valley is a French demonstrator of a European project, H2020 project dedicated to smart grids, and so it's the French demo of this Interflex project. And in this project we are partnering with we are 6 industrial companies, and also in relationship with the metropolis of Nice Côte d'Azur. The 6 partners, so Enedis as a coordinator, GRDF, ENGIE, EDF, Socomec and General Electric, so a consortium altogether to explore within some identified territories of the Alpes-Maritimes department in the south of France, different use cases that we can summarize in three different keywords: the flexibility for the distribution grid, energy storage, and islanding of a portion of distribution grid. This is a project of 5 million euro out of the 23 million euro of the Interflex project.
And when you say flexibility, storage, and let's leave the islanding to one side because we'll talk about that in another panel, but aren't flexibility and storage kind of very, very interlinked? I mean, one makes the other work in an engineering context.
Exactly. I mean, flexibility is the way you can increase or decrease the load curve, and of course, storage is one type of flexibility. And flexibility can have different technological solutions. Storage, of course, is one of them, but there is also gas electric flexibility that my colleague at GRDF can mention as well, and demand side management. So flexibility has different applications.
And before you start, and again, to give it all context, how do you decide how much flexibility you need? So if someone listening to this panel says we've identified the need for flexibility, how do we work out how much do we need? Because it's one of those things like, in the old days of data centers in IT, you used to build the data center for the worst case scenario, but there's an optimal, right? So how do you actually go in and design that equation?
The flexibility need for a distribution grid is very local, so we really have to identify the investment strategy at the local level, because when we need flexibility at distribution grid level, is to defer investment, is to manage incident that we have on the distribution grid, and we need to analyze the situation very locally. If you activate the flexibility on another feeder than the consider feeder, then you don't bring anything to the system, to the distribution system. So it's very important to be able to perform very deep power flow computation in order to be able to estimate the need and the value of flexibility and this value and this need is very local, and it's different what we need, what we see with the transmission system operator at the global level can activate flexibility. Here the need is very local, so it's one of the main challenges that we have in this project, to be able to identify where do we need flexibility. And in this project we took in the department where we're looking, in the region where we are proceeding the project, we identified with our operational people where are the areas which are interesting for flexibility, and then we proceed this power flow computation in order to estimate how much megawatt, kilowatt we need, when we need it, what is the occurrence, what is the seasonality, how much time we need the flexibility. It's all these needs of flexibility that we need to package in order to communicate with the two aggregators of the project, EDF and ENGIE, for them to be able to deliver the flexibility product we need.
So the first part of it is computational modeling, find out where you need the flexibility, and then you work out the type of flexibility. Is it battery storage and so on? Okay. So Thomas, you'll be happy to know I'm going to give you a break, and I'm going to bring your colleagues into it. So because you teed me up, because there are a couple of things you mentioned. It's like about aggregators, and then and flexibility is not just about electricity, but how do gas networks play into that? So Guillaume, I'd like to bring you in on that. You know, you're coming in from the gas network side. And when we were talking off air, that for you this is really also, I don't want to use the word experiment, but because it's not, but it's trying to work out the engineering solution of how you bring gas and heat networks into electric flexibility. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you guys have learned and how you started going about that?
Yes. First, GRDF is the largest gas distributor in Europe. And we exploit more or less 200,000 kilometers of gas network, and we are very interested in promoting innovative gas products, such as hybrid boilers or micro CHP. These technologies can provide flexibility to the electricity network. How? Because they can adapt their production or their consumption of electricity depending on the needs of the electricity network. So this is what we want to test, we want to verify in the framework of Interflex project. And this is our role as GRDF to find customers and to install in their homes such innovative gas products.
So what does that look like? I mean, does that in the real world look like where you just ended up, it's like we need customers to adopt these types of products, and by them doing that we can provide flexibility using the gas network? Or is there a more industrial side of it? My analogy is the difference between a grid scale battery storage and a behind the meter type storage. I mean, what exactly are you investigating? Is it really to do with the customer, or is it a grid scale type flexibility?
No, first we will verify in real life how this technology can interact through aggregators and with the help of an electricity network. Today it's a principle. We talk a lot about bridges between gas and electricity networks. Now it's time to make it happen and see how it works, how it can interact between the two DSO, the electricity DSO, the gas DSO, and the aggregators like ENGIE.
So tell me, in terms of that bridging, what results are you expecting? I mean, if you had your wildest dreams come through, right, within the scenario of this project, what type of flexibility do you think your part of it can provide? I mean, you've run simulations, right? You're not just walking out there and doing it on a whim. What do your simulations tell you?
No, I will not give you any numbers since we did not start the project. This is an experiment, so we will see how much flexibility gas technology can provide for electricity network. It is a local issue, and that we will look at it in Nice region, and we really hope that gas technology will be a part of a contributor of
2%,
electricity
1%
flexibility. It will depend on each region,
Right.
because it's really climate dependent.
Right.
So we will see.
Okay.
But
good.
I'm very optimistic.
We will leave it at that. I'll come back to it though. Again, from your point of view, people have been mentioning aggregators. So again, there's a engineering way of solving flexibility, then there's somewhat of a market way of solving flexibility where we're looking at different models, we're creating virtual power plants, which is some sort of hybrid between the two. We're also looking at aggregators and how that comes in. So tell us from your point of view, when you got involved in that project, what did you have to do in terms of not setting yourself up as an aggregator, but what are the sort of things that you're looking at and how are you playing the flexibility role?
Well, ENGIE is already operating a lot of flexibility in France and in Europe, but this flexibility is monetizing at the moment only on the market, spot market, day-ahead and intraday, and also as ancillary services for the TSO. So for us, this project is very interesting because it is an opportunity for us to test what could be the value of the customer flexibility for the DSO. So it is a new value pocket for us. So what we are looking for in this project is what is the value we can extract and capture from this new value pocket. So we are working with the DSO, and for us it is very important that in this project there is a DSO which is working on what could be the value for him in the future and how we could operate this flexibility. So what we are doing in this project is first we are designing and testing new offers for our customer. Second, we are designing technical solution to operate this flexibility with the DSO, which is Enedis in this project. And three, we will test how we operate in the real life this flexibility with Enedis. So for us, it is a very good opportunity to test with Enedis what could be the world of tomorrow. And what is another question for us is how we can combine the local value, the new value pocket, with the current value pocket. And the final question is what additional value we can bring to our customer through this value pocket.
So your customer is really the DSO in this instance, right? You're not going to anybody else. Thomas is your customer, and the two of you are trying to figure out where the value lies in terms of how you create those aggregation and how you bring out. I mean, how much of this did you have to design from scratch? Because you mentioned it, right? Aggregators have existed; they exist outside there. But how much did you have to think through and design it for this very localized use case? Because this is, and you said it's somewhat different, right? Because you're saying we're going to act as a local aggregator and we're going to provide value, but then we're going to also see what value that local join delivers to the rest of the system. I mean, how new is what you're doing really?
Well, first we have two kinds of customer. You're right. Thomas is one of our customers. The DSO is one customer, but the other one is a final customer. I mean, the consumer, and we bring value to the consumer because through the flexibility monetization, we can reduce the bill of the consumer. So we've got both customers. So what we are doing is that we will combine the value between the three levels. First level, we will minimize the invoice level for the consumer. Sorry. Second level, we will monetize the flexibility at the local level for the distribution operator. And third level, we will monetize the remaining flexibility for the global system, I mean for the TSO and for the market. So we will have three level optimization we will combine.
And Luis, got to bring you in now, and just to give it some context, we had a interview with your CEO, and some of the things we were talking about is flexibility and how that brings it in. And you've listened a little bit to the nice Smart Value project, and it's got some great things going for it. But can I ask you to tell us, when you hear all of this, in your role, when you're so close to the top of a distribution network, how do you see these investment cases actually building out and moving out from pilots to becoming, an endemic part of the distribution system?
Yeah. Okay. I think that, first of all, this is a very interesting topic. Indeed, it's a hot topic right now in this energy transition. If we're just trying to set the scene, if we think in the decarbonization pathways, we can see right now that we have a trend to connect more renewables to the system that are mostly connected to distribution networks. I would say that in our case in Portugal, 97% of the new windmills are connected to distribution networks. And then we also have this trend to engage the consumers through the distributed energy resources, and this will mostly impact also the distribution system. And of course, we also need to electrify society, namely through transportation and also buildings and heating and cooling. And at the same time, what the policy makers are asking DSOs to do is to invest less in the distribution network. So in a certain way, we are trying to square the circle, which is something very complicated. And what we miss right now from the clean energy package, from the European policy, is that we very much welcome all this central role that DSO is being acknowledged right now, but there is this missing link with this complexity that is arriving to the distribution sector. So, to answer to your question, I would say that in order to help this transition to go forward, we need to invest more in the distribution networks. Of course, maybe we need to change the kind of investment that we are doing right now, not only in copper. We still need to invest a lot in copper, but mostly we need to have a more active role in managing the system, also having a more active neutral market facilitation. And what I mean by neutral is not to be out of the business. Neutral means to have an active role that helps in managing this complexity. From one side to keep light on, and from the other side to have the capacity to engage consumers, to engage all newcomers that are coming into this sector. So basically, I think we have a complex environment, but what the last years have shown us is that we are working well in finding the right solutions to move towards and to help the system going forward with the energy transition.
So then how do you guys build the investment case? Because Thomas, one of the things you said to me, right? So in joining all of these dots, one of the outcomes is how do you articulate the business case back to the people who pay the check, right? So in this instance, the check is being paid by the European government to try and find all of that out. But in the real world, someone like the three of you would go to someone like Luis or his CEO and go, we want to do this, here's the money we need. Luis has already said that the regulation is saying spend less, but you actually need to spend more. So what has your project shown in terms of how you can actually position the investment cases?
So we're starting the project, so we don't have we're now presenting our approach, and we started our work for simulation. So we put in place advanced tools for performing this powerful computation, because it's important to notice that for DSO it's a little bit of a conduct of change to be able to take into account that the flexibility in our investment option or our operational options. So what will be conducting in the project, as Guillaume mentioned, we will test on the field, and we'll test on the field on the operational view with our technician. I think this is also a great value of the project, that all this new concept can be used by our operational teams, and not only by the project team, but also by the operational teams. And also one other, what we can see also the project as an operational part, and also kind of a prospective simulation part. So we will push also simulation in a world of 50% of renewable energy, as well as penetration of electric vehicles. So put into a perspective with prospective of generation and consumption, because in a world of 50% of renewable energy and with a high penetration of EV, for example, the need for flexibility won't be the same that the need that we have right now in our grid, because we design our grid right now the grid we operate is designed without taking into account the flexibility. So we will perform also to get the need for flexibility, the value of flexibility. We will perform simulation on a medium and low voltage in order to understand which value we can achieve and which need of flexibility. So we have also this more like a more computer-based, not on the field but computer-based part of the project, which also will be one very key deliverable of the project.
So when you say about value of flexibility, I mean, Luis, do you not think that we should recognize flexibility as an asset value? Because distribution networks are, depending on the regulatory environment, are recognized by their asset value. Isn't flexibility an asset?
Could be. I think could be. The point now is that we need also to make regulation more flexible. Also, flexibility doesn't only apply to
flexibility everywhere.
We need flexibility everywhere. What happens is right now we are remunerated based on different criteria, and we need to change criteria in order to make flexibility indeed a real asset. And I think that we also need to work a lot on concrete applications. I can share with you, just trying to get a picture about this. What we mean by being a market facilitator. Right now we are working with distributed ledger technology as every utility around the world, namely blockchain. And our view as DSOs on blockchain is to get a way for other newcomers to make use of the distribution infrastructure as a platform without disturbing too much the platform. So our goal is to intermediate the business in such a way that we can keep this thing, keep the lights on, at the same time being a real market facilitator. So this is very important that also the regulators recognize this, so that we can have flexibility as a real asset playing their role in distribution networks.
And how much does your local flexibility then also play in the market? Because I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to say, okay, actually, if we can get this local market working really well, it reduces stress across the system. But there are certainly times when there is stress across the system, and how can the local market then play within that? If we join it all up, you might even be able to help Lisbon, right? So,
It's just to be honest that we in this project, and we are exploring the use of flexibility for the DSOs, and in this we want to facilitate the market for flexibility, and of course the use of flexibility for the distribution grid, but we are also to keep in mind that the flexibility, the value for flexibility for the distribution grid will be only in addition to other services. We cannot build a business model for flexibility only relying on the use of distribution grid. This has to be the role of an aggregator in a multi-service approach to be able to grab all the benefits that Guillaume mentioned, the three types of benefits that he has in his view, and the DSO we will look at this project which extra value can bring, but it will not build the entire business model based on this value. It's only like an additional value.
It's a part of the stack.
Yeah, some part, and we want to see. And it's also interesting, and Guillaume mentioned also that of course if we can combine the value also that with a local value and a national value, because when the flexibility is involved in one type of service, can also the flexibility deliver from time to time a service to the distribution grid. So this is the issues that we want to tackle in the project, but we have to keep in mind that the business value, we don't only rely on the value on the distribution grid. That's these values that we want to investigate in the project.
I feel like you want to say something.
Yes, you're right, Adam. I just wanted to add that for the aggregators, the challenge is to design a dynamic VPP. I mean, currently we have quite static VPP for the current product like ancillary services or for the market, but in the future we should have a VPP at different level, and the VPP will have to be designed accordingly to the commitments the aggregator have. The commitment could be for the TSO and also for the DSO, and then the aggregator has to take commitment accordingly to the local flexibility and to the local commitment he has taken with the DSO. And this is for us a challenge, and this is the reason why what we are expecting from this project is the design of the flexibility that the DSO would like to get from us. And currently, this is what Thomas said, we have no clue of what should be the flexibility needs of the DSO in the future, but what we expect from from this project is that within 1 or 2 years, to know, well, for such kind of value, we have a commitment of 1 or 2 or 5 years. And for another product for the DSO, we have no commitment. It is only an opportunity day by day. And this is a big question for us at the moment.
And I'm still interested in the gas side of things, you know, and how we bring that in. So I don't want you to feel left out in this conversation. It's like, is it the two of you working together, so that the aggregator and you from the gas side, you've got to work out how that join actually works, so that we can bring gas and heat networks into that flexibility? I mean, I'm still trying to understand how it all works. So you go to the customer and you say, here's the product, and then the two of you work together, but you are effectively the service provider still to the DSO. You don't interact.
Yeah, let's say that the
yeah.
gas distributor is an enabler for
Right.
the aggregators.
Right.
We try to install the product, the innovative product. We connect the product to the aggregators, and then the aggregators have the necessary data to perform its job. So that's the way it is working in the project, and that's the way that gas technology can provide flexibility to electricity sector. Because as everybody says, flexibility for electricity will be a top priority. It will be increasing in the coming years because of intermittent renewable energy, and gas can be one of the solutions that can limit the electricity peak demand.
And what's in it for you guys? I mean, is it a new revenue stream for a gas network, or are you just trying to be nice guys and providing flexibility? I mean, how do you know? There must be a reason why you want to engage in this.
Okay, so as GRDF, we have a public service mission to promote gas and to promote energy efficiency. And we think that bridging gas and electricity network will help the society to have a holistic approach to energy and to have the optimal use of both grids and energy.
And Luis, when you listen to the project, and you know it's been funded by Horizon 2020, and when you hear everything that you're hearing here about the project, what is your view about how replicable you think the findings are, or will this be a case where you know that local dynamic will always be a local dynamic, and you've got to almost work it out over and over again, depending on where you are?
No. First, I think that we need to take into consideration that there are different realities across Europe. That is a matter of fact, and we cannot avoid it. But at the same time, we are facing this trend to digitize the networks, also the grids, which will give us more capacity to spread the good examples that we have in one location to the others. And I think that we have very interesting projects out there that are showing this capacity. One important thing is not to focus too much on technology, is to think more in terms of interoperability instead of standardization. That will allow us to connect different markets and to create a single market. That is the main goal of this whole thing. And I think we are doing the right things to go in that direction, but we still need to work a lot on it. But we are moving in the right direction. That is important.
And Thomas, I'm going to give you the last word on this. And one of the questions that I have is, as a result of this exercise, do you think you'll be able to get out and build computational models whereby if you go to another region, right, you don't have to go through all of this learning? I accept you need to do it once, right? But to have to do it every single time is not efficient. So do you think you're going to get enough sort of data out to build those computational models? You know, a bit like the aerospace industry, right? It doesn't half build a plane, see whether it flies, and then build another one. You run simulations. Is that one of the goals as well?
It's true that we have to consider each time the local situation. We don't have, we cannot say there is this use case or this use of flexibility, which represents 50% of France, because each time we have different type of grid, different type of customers, different situation. But the idea of this computation that we proceed is to be able to use the same computation for each region, but the design and the product of flexibility and which need of flexibility we have to compute in every different case for every different type of region. But we can of course reuse the same strategy for power flow computation, how we take into account which software we're using, all this, which hypothesis are we doing on the behavior of the customer of the generation. Of course we can reuse it, and it's of course for us a very interesting output of the project. But when we will be looking, for example, here we're looking for the need of flexibility in the south of France. If tomorrow we want to do the same in the north of France, we will need to perform new computation, but with the same strategy, the same tools that we experiment right now in this project. But the situation is very local, and there is no representative situation. We perform such kind of analysis within the Enedis company, and we need to do the same studies each time for a different situation to end up with different flexibility needs and characteristics.
Perfect, thank you. And on that note, we'll leave it. Thank you very much for watching this panel. Thank you to my guests. I think the one thing we've learned that flexibility is complicated, but we've also learned that it can be done. And I know on Engirati, if you're watching this video, we'll be following the Nice Smart Valley project very, very closely. So, you know, please do look at the pages, and I know that the team here is just at the starting phase, and I've asked some tough questions, but those answers will be coming out and we will be sharing them with you. So thanks very much for watching.